This is Back to Back.
All right. Welcome to the show, guys. This is Back to Back. My name is Willy Joy. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you guys for tuning in or pushing whatever button you push to turn on my voice on your phone or your computer and your headphones. If you're at the gym, if you're driving to work, if you're relaxing after a long day, whatever it is, I'm happy to have you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is the first complete month of Back to Back, 4 episodes in. The reaction to the show has just been overwhelming so far. I can't thank you guys enough. It means so much to me that so many of you guys are listening and so many of you guys are, sending me comments on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever, just letting me know you like the show, letting me know who you want to hear, what you want to hear talked about. Any of that, I love interacting with you guys, Reddit, whatever it is, I'm always there listening. The show's a month old. That's fucking crazy. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure to go back and listen to the other episodes we've had so far, Diplo, Boombox Cartel, Grand Theft, all really fucking cool episodes. And I have so much more planned for you guys, so don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Just hit that little subscribe button. That way, each week when I upload a new episode, it'll just come straight to your phone, super easy, no hassle, no button pushing. Leave that to me. And if you want, leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. That helps us a lot, helps us get in those charts, get more leverage to do more cool shit for you guys. And speaking of, my guest on the show today is Aryay. And Aryay is the first person I ever talked to for Back to Back. It was the first conversation I ever recorded. And so I give him so much love for trusting me enough to try this out with me, try something new. And it actually, even though it was the first one, it's actually one of my favorite conversations I've done out of anyone I've talked to so far. And we'll hear more about that in a second. So how are you guys? How was your week? I'm not doing bad. I'm a little tired. I'm a little stressed out. It's been a busy week. But musically, though, there's a lot more fun shit going on. I got a remix approved that's going to come out for you guys next week. I can't tell you for who yet, but it'll be a great package. Awesome artists all around and psyched to be a part of it. I'm going to be performing in Philadelphia this Saturday night. If you're around there, holler at me. It's been good. I've been off the road for a while, getting this podcast up and running, and I had some business shit I was taking care of. And that's all pretty much straightened out now. So trying to get back on the road a little bit more, working on some stuff for the fall and the winter. And until then, just going to be cranking these out, cranking out the tunes. And I've got a lot of studio time coming up in the next month before I go to Japan in July. And if you guys are working on something, I hope it's going well, whether it's art, music, whether it's something for your job, whether it's something for your family, whether you're building a house, making a fire, whatever you're doing. I don't know why I said that, but I hope it's going well. So let's get into this talk with Aryay. Aryay was the first ever person I interviewed for this show, and it's so crazy to think about how long I've known him and yet how little I knew about him. And we've been friends for a long time. We both came up in Chicago. He was a generation after me, basically. He's younger than I am. And as I found out in our conversation back in the day, due to the age difference and kind of the generational thing, he wasn't even comfortable talking to me at first. It's a weird thing, perceived status in the music world, because pretty much all of it is fake. There's a life hack for you. We're all just people. Everyone is just a person. Anyway, I love Aryay. We've become pretty good friends since then, despite not really being in the same place anymore. He moves around, I move around, and we don't see each other as much as we'd like. But he's a good friend, and beyond that, he's an amazingly talented producer. And every time Aryay puts something out, I get really stoked, and so should you. He's got a new song out on OWSLA right now called Always Wanted You featuring Kimbra. It's one of my favorite pop EDM whatever you want to call it song. It's just one of my favorite songs. I shouldn't even put it in a genre. Really shows off his musicality, versatility. You know, I think a lot of people first heard of Aryay through his song The Lawnmower, which also was an OWSLA release. Just a crazy banger of a tune. And in between then, he's made some really cool stuff. A personal favorite of mine was a song called Never Gonna Leave. Has a great video that we talk about in this conversation. His remix of Rory that he did with Flostradamus is another personal favorite that I was playing out for years and still do sometimes. Just in general, man, I couldn't be a bigger fan of this guy. And if you haven't checked out his music, head on over to the SoundCloud and hit him up because he's the best. I love this conversation. This is some real talk conversation here, guys. This is probably a better picture into how the majority of people making dance music really think about it and really talk about it behind closed doors. You know, when you get behind the brands and the marketing of it all, you know, we're all just trying to figure it out. And that's really what this conversation is just, you know, how are we approaching it? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? How are we being perceived? All these questions are hard to answer. And really, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is make good music. And all that other stuff can be a distraction. It can be an enhancement. But either way, you're going to hear us talking about how we deal with everything that surrounds being a DJ, being a producer, and just having a career in the music industry. We start off, because this was the first interview, Mickey was asking me why I was doing it and what I hope to accomplish. So right when the interview starts, that's what you're going to hear me talking about. And one last thing, I want to let you guys know, in this conversation, you're going to hear me bleep out somebody's name about halfway through. I just didn't want you to be confused when you heard it. That was intentional. We were just discussing a situation with a friend of ours, and I haven't talked to that friend to make sure he'd be okay with his name being mentioned. So that's why you hear the bleep, not obscuring anything. It doesn't change anything about the story. But I just wanted to let you guys know. All right, so let's get into it. This is me and my handsome, talented friend, Aryay, chopping it up in his LA apartment. Let's go. We all kind of know each other. We all like that, you know, shows are almost like an excuse to hang out.
It's true, yeah.
And so maybe in a way, this is my like manufacturing an excuse to like see people I don't get to see who I like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like as musicians and producers and whatever, it's like we're at this point where it's like, what are we doing here, guys? You know, we all kind of got in on the same wave, and now that wave is sort of maybe starting to break against the shore or whatever you want to say, and everyone's going in their own direction or just trying to still floating and trying to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to people, take people's temperature, see what's going on, and just get to know people who I've like, you know, quote unquote known for years that really I don't know at all.
Right.
Like you, man, it's like, you know, we've known each other for what? Probably a decade nearing.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. But like you said, it's like, yeah, like we pretty much only saw each other or would see each other at shows. We don't have this level of like understanding for one another that's like, that develops in like this genuine like friendship way. It's just more like, oh, cool, like you're at the Chicago event. But in the beginning of all that shit, like I was too intimidated to even talk to like you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
For real? That's great.
Yeah.
So like, wait, how old were you back when like all this shit in Chicago was
like popping?
Yeah.
Like the cool kids.
Yeah,
and
like
all that
07, 08.
Yeah, I was like 17.
Okay, so you couldn't even get into the clubs.
No. Oh, we did because I had my brother's ID. Like I have 3 older brothers, and my oldest brother, whose name I stole for DJ purposes, I also stole his ID for drinking purposes.
Full-on identity theft.
Yeah, exactly, for real. Like, I grew up in this little Jewish community, so like talking to
Where'd you grow up?
Like West Rogers Park.
Okay.
Which is
like
super
Chicago
north
suburb.
side. Yeah. Like, so talking to people that were like not part of, like, I think I was like well-versed enough to like talk to your average person and just be like a normal dude, but like talking to people like you guys who were like, at the time, I had you guys on this like plateau in my mind, you know? You guys
Yeah.
were like doing these things that I've never seen. Like DJing was super new to me. Production on that level was super new to me. Like everyone wanted to make that like electro sound at the time, and like I couldn't even get close to touching that, you know?
Right.
So to see you guys doing this and playing at Metro and doing these like things that were like so unattainable in my mind, like talking to you guys was so scary. It was such a scary thing. Like,
Well, hey man, I mean, that's flattering, but the funny thing about it is like we, meaning like, you know, whatever, me, Flostradamus, whoever was sort of doing it at the time, like we had no idea what we were doing, you know, and you're talking about sort of not being able to attain these things that I think the perception was that we knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And we totally...
well, you knew how to DJ. You were like a sick fucking DJ.
Yeah, we knew how to DJ, that's for sure. But as far as, you know, the production that was emerging and kind of these, you know, that was the foundation for a lot of the styles that you see now. You know, Justice was like out there doing electro, and there was Bloghouse happening with a lot of the European guys. And,
was it called Bloghouse then, or is that like a new term for an old thing?
You know, even at the time, I think just because of the way things evolve, I think it almost instantly became Bloghouse. Like,
is that just because like all the music was like downloaded off blogs?
Yeah, that's literally how you found out about music. Was
I remember doing that in class, like in school, like in college. Like I would bring my computer to class, not to take notes, but I would be on like Dirty Disco or whatever, or Pelsky.
Gotta Dance Dirty.
Gotta Dance Dirty, that's what it was. And like Pelsky's playlist and like Vitamin Vacay and like all that shit. And I was just downloading, and I wasn't even listening to it. I was just downloading it because I trusted the blog.
And that's the thing. And it's hard to explain to like people who didn't live through that era that like that was the only way you kind of knew
what was like on the up.
What was going to be cool.
Like
true. Instead of going on SoundCloud and hearing, you know, 200 new songs a day, you would literally hear like 2 songs a day.
And the blogs had all the power.
They were absolutely like the kingmakers, and you know, getting your song posted on there was a big deal.
That was another thing that seemed like super unattainable, because I got so many denies. I like would, and then like you guys all knew everyone, like everyone was tight. Like the industry is always going to be the industry, but like I didn't understand what the industry was. And like interning with Floss, like they slowly introduced me to people, like just by nature of going to parties and whatever. And they'd be like, oh, that dude writes for this blog, or like that dude made this song, like that dude made Day and Night. And I was like, what the fuck? Like that's just a normal dude chilling, like
just hanging out.
That was like so crazy to me.
What was that like actually being an intern for Flostradamus? Like, what did you actually do?
We didn't do anything. Like, how did it get started? It was like, we went to one of the Floster Promises.
Oh yeah, they would do the Valentine's Day. Was that the Valentine's Day?
Yeah. And like, we weren't going to see DJs, like, because you know, kids like now they're like, oh, let's go see this DJ, let's go see such and such. But like then it was like, let's go to a party. In my mind, that's what it was. It wasn't like I've never heard of Flostradamus at the time. I think there was this website I would go on called brokehipster.com.
Oh yeah, I know them.
It was like, and it was just like, because I was broke as fuck and I was like 18. It was like, what kind of shit could I do for $5, $10? So I think that was one of the events. We went and Josh recognized my cousin, or my cousin recognized Josh when Josh was walking in from PetSmart. Because like Josh was, my cousin used to work at PetSmart. I think my cousin recognized Josh's swag because he was rocking like a Gucci jacket or some shit, you know?
Even back then.
Yeah. And my cousin was like, oh, I know that dude. And then we like later saw that he was the one that was playing. And then we talked to them afterward, and we weren't thirsty. We weren't like, because we didn't know what thirsty meant. Like we didn't know what, like.
I don't think in those days thirsty as a term even existed.
Right. It was like, sounds like so long ago, but we were like trying to be rappers. So like we didn't give a fuck about like.
You were going to be a rapper?
We were like, we had a little Jewish like rap crew.
Oh,
like, yeah.
Have we talked about this?
I don't know.
You know, I used to be a Jewish rapper.
Were you in the Jutang clan?
Yeah, that was me.
I think Kurt told me about it. That's the best name I've ever heard. That like shits on anything.
It'll haunt me till the day I die, man.
I think there's something about Jews and like you know, like Lil Dicky and like I don't know, but he's actually doing it. I think we're just like white boys who want to be like cultured and
well, it's a funny thing. I mean, Lil Dicky's a great example of like the Jew rapper who's like, even though he's wildly successful, it's still kind of a joke.
Well, actually, on a different note, some of my homies are homies with his managers, and they're like saying that like he's trying to break through into like comedy and like, so it all makes sense that like it's kind of a joke because I think he's trying to be like an actor.
Yeah, that makes total.
Which makes the crossovers, it's all there.
Yeah, he's got all the pieces.
Yeah. Anyway, we weren't thirsty because like we didn't know what that meant. I think they gave us Josh and Kurt. It was actually Josh. Josh took like the initiative and like gave us his number. And I remember putting it in my phone as like floss with like 8 exclamation points. And like, even though I didn't even know who they were at the time, like I was just stoked. And then we went to Sonotech like a few days later, which is now Beauty Bar.
That's right, yeah.
And that place was like, that was like the first time I like walked into the bathroom, saw some dude like bumping a line. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
all happening.
Yeah, I was like, this is what it is. Like, this is what I see in the movies.
And Sonotech looked like a club out of the movies too.
Yeah, it had like the crazy like air horn speakers.
Yeah, and the whole thing looked like kind of a spaceship from like a 1970s sci-fi TV show.
Yeah, it was fucking trippy. And so we texted them and they invited us, and then they invited us into the DJ booth. And getting into Sonotech was crazy because we both had to use our fakes, and like using fakes that were like that bad was like rough. And we made it happen.
Yeah.
So that was lucky. And then Josh was like, come back to the booth. And we went back into the DJ booth, and like Around the World was like playing like on a loop in my head, but also playing in like Riverside, like all these like fucking.
It's like in the movie of your life.
Yes, exactly. And I remember Josh handed my cousin his whiskey Coke or whatever the fuck he was drinking. He's like, you want a sip? And my cousin's like, yeah. And like downed the whole thing right away. Like so like.
It's so over
like,
the top.
Literally thirsty. Yeah. Like so just like, yeah, it was just like we didn't know how to act. Yeah. We were just like so excited. And that excitement kind of like has died in a big way, but that's part of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think that sentiment of kind of, I feel like everyone's a little bummed out right now, or just a little, not even bummed out, but just sort of trying to figure out what happens next.
Like what's next? Yeah, because I think everyone's kind of hit a wall, like in a big way. When you open up your promo email and it's literally all like chord stabby, flumy, like things, it's just like, how many times can you hear that?
Right. Yeah. And everything, it's either that or it's sort of hard as nails dubstep. And I, not to say anything bad about that, but it's, it's all kind of very formulaic. Like it just sounds like you can tell who they listened to before they made the song.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell what they were going for. You're like, oh, this song was referencing this song.
Right. Usually. Which is you never want that to be someone's reaction to your song.
That means you didn't steal it good enough.
Exactly.
If you're going to steal it, like definitely make sure no one knows that you stole it.
Yeah, and and I think we all steal it to a certain extent. I mean, definitely in my mind, when I sit down to make a song, I'll usually have another song in mind as like a reference of kind of where I want this to end up.
Right.
But the magic of it is that if you do it right, no one knows that you were thinking that.
Yeah. There's always like some big inspirational thing. And like that's usually when I start making music is because I heard something that I was like, whoa, that's so inspirational that I want to like kind of steal it and make my own version of it, but hopefully change it enough that people don't know. And
I think my aesthetic or sort of the sounds I like or the melodies or the chord progressions I like, it's not what someone else would choose a lot of the time, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And so I'll start like intending to make like a, whatever, like, hey, the Chainsmokers had this song, like, I bet I could make a song like that.
Right.
And then by the end, it's like
totally different.
Oh, I definitely can't make that song.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the times it works out to that sort of is what your sound, quote unquote, ends up being.
Yeah, no one has a blank slate, No one, we all listen to music, unless you literally lock yourself away for a few months and like don't listen to anything, or maybe only listen to older shit as a reference. But like otherwise everything's gonna bleed into what you do. It's like you can't really help it.
Yeah. And we're surrounded by it in the modern era too. I mean, it's social media just puts it in front of your face and in your ears constantly.
Yeah.
And
I mean, right before you got here, I was doing my daily like go on SoundCloud, and at this point I've cut it down to like I want to listen to this because I want to see what's new. I want to see what new people that I like are doing.
How do you find those people?
Well, it's not new people, sorry. I meant people that I fuck with that are making new music. For the
Okay.
most part, I can't really find new people unless someone else recommends it to me first. Because I'm not digging deep enough anymore. I don't care enough to like. There
Yeah.
was a point where I was trying to find new people, and like that was in the early SoundCloud days because like it was way before like reposts and shit. I think I would like look through someone's hearts. I would look through what someone liked.
Yeah.
And there was always like little gems in there. If you really fucked with someone and they hearted certain songs, they were kind of a tastemaker for you.
Yeah, that's actually, I still find singers to work with that way.
That's also, yeah.
Is I'll look at like a singer I really like and see who they follow or
Right.
whose songs they've, because
Yeah.
it's, you know, the singers, they have their own whole little world that I don't know enough about, but I can go look at, you know, someone that I know is like the shit and whose taste I trust, and they'll guaranteed have liked, you know, 10 things I haven't heard
Right.
of.
That's
And-
smart. Yeah, it's like a trickle effect.
Yeah, and usually those 10 are like on a level where it doesn't seem weird to just reach out, you know.
You could just
kinda-
message them.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's the smartest way. But yeah, in terms of like finding new music these days, it seems like if you're like a new kid and you want to get heard, you kind of have to get a cosign from someone. You have to like, you don't have to, but like it seems like that's the quickest route to have someone big or someone semi-big with some authority be like, hey, you should all listen to this person because he's really fucking good.
Yeah, that
know?
definitely helps. And I feel like we're seeing that kind of culture even in the major label industry of now, you know, before you could have a hit by the label putting a bunch of money into it and putting it on the radio and doing a big promo push. And now that's not even guaranteed. Now you need almost a viral something to go along with your song.
Right.
And that's what
Right,
guarantees
like Bad
the
and
hit.
Bougie, and you have like the raindrop drop top thing as like a meme,
Right.
and that pushes the song to a different level.
Exactly.
That shit blew me away because I was like, I wonder if this song would have been nearly as big without the meme shit. And
I don't think it would have
doubt
been.
it. And not to say it's not a dope song; it's a fucking dope song. But like a lot of Migos songs are dope songs that get slept on.
Right. It could have been one of 10 Migos songs.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and you know that line is brilliant and it sticks in your head. But I think without those memes and without the viral video of them, I think it's them in Nigeria or something like that, where the song starts and it's like, you know, a fire started somewhere
Yeah.
in the back of the crowd, like people just.
Oh, that actually happened?
No,
Or,
but
people
like
are just
that's how they're
losing their
reacting.
shit.
Like it's like
Yeah.
you've never seen a
Yeah.
crowd reaction like
Yeah.
that. And so of course everybody shares it, and all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing these days is like, I feel like that's always been something I've struggled with is like branding versus making music.
Yeah.
It's like, which one do you want to put more weight into? It seems like branding's always been more important, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of the game. And like lately, what I've really been trying to do is just accept the game for what it is. Like, if you want to fight it the whole time, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
So either fucking like just accept that certain things are the way they are. Like some person whose music you think is shit is going to like blow up, and that's fine. That has nothing to do with you.
That's the name of your first album, man. Accept the game.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say some person shit, but like the whole the run-on sentence.
That would be
Yeah.
like your late album, indie rock.
That's my
era.
sophomore.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you get a little arty with it. But no, I agree, man. And it's one thing I always have to remind myself too is that there will always be those people you think are shitty that are doing better than you. And there's always going to be somewhere, no, I don't care how zen you are, somewhere deep down there's like that little kernel of bitterness
Where you
about
get like
it.
bummed, yeah.
Yeah, or just bummed
Yeah.
out. But what I always try to remind myself is like those people, it's not like they're taking your spot, you know?
Right.
It's like there's infinite lanes and there's infinite spots and
Yeah.
ways to find a niche and a home for yourself. And kind of whatever they're doing, if it's a gimmick, if it's just shitty music that you don't like, whatever it is, you wouldn't want to do that anyway, you know? Like
Right.
they're kind of in their own thing.
What you're saying is totally true, but it's more about like you look at everyone around and you're like, why are we letting this happen? Why are we letting this person who's really attractive per se and like doesn't make good music? And we all know that you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
But or like everyone in the industry will agree, right? But like people, the general public, will be like, I don't give a fuck. This music makes me happy. It's simple. It's catchy. And then I'm like, I reevaluate. I'm like, whatever. Like, it has nothing to do with me.
Well, right. Yeah. And that's when the general public says that, then I look at myself. I'm like, well, maybe I'm wrong.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And, I think this is a classic, timeless thing. It's like an artsy kind of like, do I want to be an artist or do I want to be a gimmick or blah, 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 blah. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, that's what I'm trying to be like. It's like, I'm trying to be less precious about everything.
So on that note, to take it back to when you were the interns,
right.
And that was an actual group name that you were in too, right?
Yeah. Kurt and Josh were like, you guys are the interns. And to answer your previous question, we didn't do shit for them. Like, it was like one time they were like, oh, set up this equipment, like these DJ turntables or whatever, and we had no idea how. And it was like plugging RCAs into the mixer, but we didn't know where. Yeah, we did no idea. We've never done that. So Josh was like, yeah, can you guys do it? And Kurt was like, no, you guys don't have to do it. And then Josh was like, I'll teach you how, so then next time you can do it. Yes, the interns, we were a DJ duo trying to make electro bangers. And then dubstep, when dubstep became big, and then trap, when trap became big, and whatever we could ride the wave.
Well, and I remember you would send me a song here or there.
Yeah.
I think I had left Chicago by that point, and so every once in a while you would pop
Where'd
up.
you go?
I moved from Chicago to Washington, D.C.
How long were you in Washington?
I was in Washington, D.C. for 2 or 3 years.
Were you still gigging?
Yeah, I was still gigging. I left Chicago kind of right at the breaking point of I wasn't exactly a local DJ anymore, but I wasn't really a touring DJ either.
What year was that?
I left Chicago in 2011.
2011. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Because I lived there from 2011 to 2013, and then in 2013 is when I moved to California.
Were you still doing the Kid Sister stuff?
Yeah, so that started kind of right as I was moving to DC.
Okay.
I started at actually, I'd say last 6 months I was in Chicago.
Okay.
And then continued that as I was in DC, kind of once we had gotten into the pattern of...
Yeah.
After that, we didn't really need to hang out much once we had sort of gotten the rhythm of the shows because we would see each other every weekend.
You just knew what to do.
Yeah. And she was gigging so much then that, it'd be every weekend we'd be together anyway. So it was kind of just like whatever airport was at the end of the run. That's kind of the only thing that changed for us.
Right. Okay.
That was a fun time, though, man. Did you know Melissa, Kid Sister?
I mean, I had a huge crush on her.
I think you and all of my friends,
yeah,
man.
I mean, I didn't really know her. It was like she knew our names, and when she said our names, we were like, oh my God, she knows who we are, which was crazy. It was because she was the biggest thing at the time, especially in my mind. This was the MySpace era, and I remember she got one of the front pages of MySpace one time.
Right.
And it was MTV, Kid Sister, Kanye, and I was like, whoa, she's huge.
And she legitimately was huge.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to forget, and especially if for the younger kids who weren't even around in that era.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't the biggest thing. For a minute, she was the next big thing.
Yeah, especially in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you can if you can surpass that Chicago threshold of and other people know about you, that means in Chicago you're the biggest thing.
Yeah. No, and she was a superstar kind of from day one, I feel like. And you think about, all the crazy things that happened to her. It was like a career in reverse in a weird way. Her first single ever had Kanye West on it.
First of all, Pro Nails, I fuck with that song.
She
I remember
had
seeing where
jams,
they filmed
man.
it, and I was like, whoa, that's where they filmed it. All these little Easter eggs in my life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
All the little hood spots that she went to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That song was crazy to me. Seeing her on MTV and then seeing her IRL was fucking crazy to me.
I still have a friend who is not even in the music world, but anytime her name comes up, he'll look over to me and be like, she ask about me?
Right. Or you have those friends that are like, oh, well, my friend knows her.
Right.
My friend's her DJ.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And you're like, kind of like embarrassed, but you're like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and she's, not to go too deep on the kid sister tip, but I mean, she's just one of those people that I think you instantly meet her, and anyone who meets her, you just sort of fall in love with her.
Yeah. She's like the biggest sweetheart.
She's the biggest sweetheart, and just such a vibrant, like awesome personality, and is so interested in people. And like, I don't know, just being around her, touring with her was funny because she and I are like the exact opposite personality types.
Yeah, she's like super extroverted.
Loves to talk to everyone around her.
Yeah.
And, is like, I think that's the difference between an extrovert and an introvert is like an extrovert, that's how you sort of regain energy.
You'll like go out of your way to like
being around people and, talking to them, absorbing their energy. And for me, who like, I don't like being around people that much.
No, I feel you.
And I recharge when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Like I take a little time off. I sit at home. I watch a movie. I'm in the studio, whatever. Like that's how I get psyched up to go back out into the world.
Yeah.
And
was there like a
touring
clash?
together, it was a little bit of adjustment for me because I mean it was her show. Like I was there to work for her.
Right.
So, I was never really comfortable being like, no, let's not like hang out with these 40 people.
Right. You were just kind of like, all right.
Yeah. So I was like, but it was good. I learned so much. I mean, she was the first person to take me on tour. She took me around the world, and
that's huge.
Yeah, man. Those experiences, I mean, I learned so much just from being around her.
Yeah, that's like
watching.
life. That's like life shit. Like you can't learn that any other way.
100% life shit. And also, not that she ever sat down and taught me how the business worked, but just watching how somebody on that level operated, I picked up so much just from kind of silently observing.
Right.
So if you're at this level where you have a tour manager and a business manager and a booking agent and a DJ, in this traveling party, like how do you manage all of these people? What does each one do for you? I didn't know any of that shit.
Yeah, so you got to see like the business side of things.
Yeah, which was really nice.
Because it's kind of like a mystery up until you see it.
Yeah, and for a while, I think there's a perception of like a lot of young kids who come up that like, I hear this all the time of like, yeah, man, I'm just trying to get to that level where I can like get a booking agent, or like just trying to, all I need is a manager and then I'm good. And it's like, you want to tell them, it's like, that's not really the way it works
at all. Yeah.
And if you delved into it, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you why they needed those things.
Yeah. Because they just see what successful people have and assume they need it. I think I learned, I don't know about I did learn the hard way because like I had a buddy, we had the same booking agent and we didn't need a booking agent. It was like this old duo that I was in.
Okay.
We got this booking agent and the guy was like promising us all these things and we were hyped because we had a little bit of like clout and we were like, cool, like we don't know how the music industry works. And like this dude ended up robbing the other dude. This dude had him as a booking agent too, and then this dude like stole a bunch of money from him and like disappeared.
I know exactly who you're talking about now.
Yeah, it was just like, that was like my first dealings of like, oh, this is what a booking agent, and the guy was like, we're gonna get you press photos and we're gonna do all these things for you, and like really like nowadays you don't need any of that shit. Like press photos, cool, take your iPhone and like get a friend to take pictures of you under a fucking LA bridge or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? You don't need anything, and like, especially like with management and whatever, you don't need a manager until you're busy enough that you need a manager.
Exactly. Until you have so much going on that you literally have to hand it off to somebody else.
Like I don't have a manager right now.
No, really?
No, I haven't had a manager for...
You and Paul?
Yeah, we went separate ways, but it was, it was amicable. It was more just like, I don't have enough stuff for him to do.
Right.
And I never wanted him as a manager in terms of like managerial stuff. I wanted him to help me with like being creative because he's a creative fucking dude.
I was going to ask you.
That's where he like shines.
Right. Yeah. Because he's such an interesting guy and I hope to have him on this podcast at some point too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's got...
Oh, I mean, I love talking to that dude. Yeah. But as a manager, I always wondered what it, because I assumed he wasn't, the like business meeting kind of manager.
No, it was like, because he's the same way. Like a manager should bite the bullet and be the dick when he has to be the dick and like be aggressive and like kind of like get shit done. But I'm not that kind of dude in terms of like, I'm not confrontational. And Paul's the same way.
Right.
So Paul would be like, Paul deals with managers all the time as an A&R. So he he's like, I don't want to deal with these kinds of, like, I don't want to be the dude that I'm dealing with. Because like he sees how managers act and he's like, they suck. So like when it's like time for push to shove, like he doesn't want to be that dude. He will, but he's like me. He's like, I don't want to be that dude. I don't want to be annoying and like hound someone for an acapella or like, whatever it is.
So do you think it was kind of, you were too similar in personality to really like,
the biggest thing, like, that was one, but like at the end of the day, I can't blame anyone but myself for the way things went down because like he didn't have enough stuff to work with. And the reason he didn't have enough stuff to work with was because I didn't give him enough stuff to work with. You know what I mean? So at a certain point, I was like paying him the little amount of money that I was paying him. It was like 15% of whatever. I think that's like a standard manager thing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
And I was just like, I can't really afford to be giving you this just because at a certain point, he was literally just booking my flights and stuff.
Right.
And I was like, I could do these things. I'm just being lazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And any part I've gotten to in the industry or whatever, I've done on my own essentially. Like not on my own. Obviously, there have been people that help me. But in terms of like managerial stuff, I just don't think it's really necessary until you're like really like, But the problem is like booking agents want you to have a manager because they want you to have the full package and they want it to look professional but I'm so over that shit. I'm so over like, it has to look a certain way or it has to, even now like with this contract stuff I have to do for OWSLA, like I have to finish this record.
Like an EP?
It's just one song.
Okay.
And I have to like send out these contracts, but like I'm supposed to have my lawyer do it, but I don't want my lawyer to do it because then I have to pay him a certain amount of money. And I'm just like, cool, like I know what these contracts look like. I've seen them in the past. I'm going to use these templates and essentially have a homie who's a lawyer look over them, make sure they all look good and send them out myself. But then like the label gets bummed because they're like, it doesn't look as professional coming from my email. And it's true.
Right.
And I get that. But like, I'm also like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. I think about this all the time because I'm the same as you. I mean, we're always like watching our finances, because this is an insecure thing that we do.
Yeah.
Like the bottom could fall out kind of any time.
Yeah.
So you're always looking at your bottom line. And it's, to me, we're both capable, responsible people. So sure, we can like make up a mock contract, that kind of simple stuff.
I mean, you went to fucking Brown.
Well, yeah,
you
true.
got the knowledge.
True. Hey, man, there's like a secret society of like Ivy League DJs. We don't like to talk about that shit.
You could X that part out.
Yeah. But no, and I get frustrated because exactly what you were saying, like the perception of it coming from a law firm versus coming from you, like that's a fake contrast. Like it's meaningless in a way.
As long as the contract...
As long as you would do just as good a job,
right,
or an acceptable job, it's a meaningless distinction. But because everybody has agreed that it has to look this way, then somehow if they participate in like, a quote unquote amateur transaction,
then it's like less.
Yeah, it's like just somehow less like important or less exciting. Yeah.
But what's crazy on a different level, like the same concept is my friend I have a buddy who I used to live with and he has been doing like pop records lately. That's not what he normally does, but he's getting into that side of the world or like the music stuff. And he sent off this he like mixed the shit out of the song and he's a great engineer and he sent it to me and I thought it sounded incredible. And then he sent it to the person who he was producing it for and their camp and their team. And they were like, oh, well, do you think he can get us a spec mix by like next week? Meaning like that mix that he sent wasn't even close to like what they expected. And I think like back to the same concept, I think their ears, I don't even think it's their ears. I think they're like, oh, well, I know someone who does mixes and it doesn't sound like that person's mix. Right. Therefore, it's not as, you know what I mean? You fall into these like habits of like trusting certain professionalism, but like if something sounds good, something sounds good.
Right. And there's, especially for production, I mean, there's obviously no one right way to do it. Yeah. And I think almost every week I'll hear a new tune that somebody does something weird where I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
And it's, and it maybe isn't the quote unquote proper way to do it.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
Right. But that's why it's cool.
Right.
And I mean, I get it. Like for radio, certain things have to be a certain way. But like, if you listen to the Chainsmokers stuff, in my opinion, that stuff isn't like radio quality.
I was
It's
about
not
to say, like,
but they got it. They did it. So obviously they're doing something right. And obviously, like, those aren't, if you A/B that mix with, like, I don't know, a fucking Nirvana mix down or some shit. I don't know, something that like got on the radio because like the dynamics are all there. The Chainsmokers stuff is a little rougher, but I think that translates and people hear it and they like it.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said about a generational sound too, you know? I think the Chainsmokers are one of, if not the, like, defining, like, if there was a sound of like the last couple of years, they've taken it and just fucking put it in the oven, and like it's this hard diamond of like the core of this idea.
Right.
You know, they've taken it to like the furthest, however you feel about them.
Yeah.
Like they've taken it to just this extreme of, you know, they're pop stars now.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're seeing more and more like electronic producers making stuff for pop records, making stuff for radio. And I think, you know, the sound of radio is just changing too.
Yeah. Oh, like drastically.
Yeah.
I remember, speaking of like that, like I remember when I first heard, like this was the game changer for me when I heard We No Speak Americano on B96.
Wow.
Because like that was like an EDM, before EDM was called EDM, whatever. That was like an electro song on the radio. And it wasn't at night, it was during the day. And then it got into heavy rotation. And that blew my fucking mind. I was like, whoa. Things are like happening. Like this can be a thing.
Yeah.
It didn't have any words. It had like some guy going some Italian quote
just
from like
a little sample.
and then back to like
and it had a drop. Having anything with a drop on the radio.
And then slowly but surely, like a lot of stuff with drops started happening. Like Britney Spears put out this song. I remember there was like a dubstep drop in it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, that made no sense. But I was like, it's on the radio.
Yeah. And you could tell that one was almost like just like, how can we stay cool, guys?
Yeah, of course.
Because it came in like the third minute of the song.
Yeah. It wasn't like
you thought the song was over.
You thought it was over. It was like a bridge, dubstep drop, outro. Or some shit. Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah, but that's a perfect example.
But yeah, it was like once, like little things like that. Because there was a point where, like, in my mind, like that shit would have never been on the radio. And,
I think you're
and
right.
That slowly started happening, and now you have dudes like Chainsmokers who probably made the song on Ableton at their fucking home.
Yep.
Had Halsey like comp a quick vocal. Like it probably was like this little project, but they were like, oh man, these melodies are so dope. Like this is so simple. And then like, bam, like, fuck, man. If they can get on the radio, I think that's an awesome sign of the times, because that means anyone can, in my opinion.
100%.
That means you can be like a
agree.
SoundCloud kid and just, you can be on the radio.
Yo, I completely agree. And to me, I think it's all about seeing the door open and running through it as fast as you can. Because those windows of opportunities, they open for such short times. Mm-hmm. But if you're able to sort of be there when it opens, which is, combination of luck and skill, I think.
Yeah.
But if you can really execute when, you sense it's your time, which I think the Chainsmokers did, and just ran with it, going back to talking about Flosstradamus, like when they started, I guess what we could call like Flosstradamus 2.0, the modern era Flosstradamus.
With the trap stuff.
Yeah, like they, more or less invented EDM, trap, whatever you want to call it. And I remember like being around them in those moments where they were just kind of fucking around. Like they made the original Dawn thing, a couple other hardstyle trap tunes. Yeah. But they were just like kind of having fun and fucking around. There was no master plan.
Yeah.
But then once they saw the original Dawn start to catch on, like just a little bit, I think a few bigger name DJs played it or something. I mean, they went just balls to the wall hard with it, and so fast and so strong that, I think they were able to kind of use their past experience.
Yeah, because they knew.
Yeah.
They knew, and that was the smartest thing they could have done.
Yep.
And when I put out like the banger Lawnmower or whatever, Kurt was like, you should make like 5 more of these, or like similar enough but different enough. And like I wouldn't do that because I felt wrong doing that.
I would have been the same way.
But I'm an idiot. I should have fucking done it. I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah. I should have made like 8 more of those.
Well,
put them all out. Like,
100%. Because when you do that, and I'm the same way, I would have heard that advice and not done it and then regretted it.
Yeah.
But if you had done that, I think if anyone does that, then you get your core fan base.
Yeah, because you have like a sound.
Yeah, and once you have that core fan base, I think they're much more willing to follow you if you want to go and do whatever else you want to do.
Even if they're like whatever bitching in the comments, like, oh, why aren't you making a banger or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're still there. They're still listening. They're still probably coming to your shows.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
And at the same time, because even if they hate it, they're still there bitching and making noise in your general community,
right?
Which is other people are going to be like, what are they so mad about? And then they'll listen to it. And, that's the basics of how you grow an audience, I think.
Yeah. I wish I wasn't so against, because to me, that's so calculated.
Yeah.
It's such a calculated approach to things. And with Floss, it was totally natural and it happened. But once they realized it was happening, they took advantage. And that's smart. And that's like good business. And it's just like being smart, taking an opportunity. But for me, I didn't see it that way. I made this thing and I was excited about it. And I was like, this is really cool. But once it was done, like I put it out, I was like, cool. Like now I want to make something different. Like I don't want, you know what I mean?
Were you just kind of bored of it, or?
No, it was. I'm always trying to make like the next banger,
right?
But I just wanted it to sound different. I didn't want it to sound like that.
So would you get just kind of self-conscious about?
Oh, dude, yeah. That was some shit that I never had before either. I made music to make music, and then all of a sudden, you get a little bit of like people being like, "Nice job, nice job, nice job," and then you freak out and don't want to fucking let them down,
right?
And like you don't want people to be like, "This sucks" or whatever. And that has like been my biggest self-sabotage. Is like creating too high of a goal.
Yeah.
Or like nothing being good enough.
I get that too. It's almost like, if you're a kid and you're like a little kid, you just play around. You're just in it for yourself. You're not aware of anyone else.
Exactly.
You're just doing whatever you want to do. And then all of a sudden, you realize that people are looking at you,
Yeah.
Or like maybe you see a video of yourself.
And you act different.
Yeah. And then you sort of realize that, everyone else is like reacting to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And like you start seeing yourself through their eyes.
It's totally that. It's totally like the childlike mentality. What's cool is like the same way Kurt like totally mentored me throughout like however many years of me asking him annoying ass questions that I could have Googled. Like I have a buddy who's like just getting into this stuff and he's like just started producing in the last year, but he's always been playing guitar. Like he's super talented. And I'm just trying to give him all this advice. It's funny because I find myself repeating all this shit Kurt told me. You have to be patient, like blah, blah, blah. Like it's not going to happen overnight, blah, blah, blah. But like the biggest thing I'm trying to tell him is like keep putting music out. Like don't ever get in your head about it. And he has been, and some of it's cool and some of it's not, but it's dope that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because that shit will fuck your whole life up.
Yeah. If you start being too precious about, it's not good enough, then it'll just never be good enough.
Yeah.
And I go through that same thing of like, I'll make a song, and if I don't put it out within a couple weeks, I'll come back to it and it won't be good enough. Mm-hmm. But if I had put it out like the next week, it would have been good enough, Like it's one of those weird mental things.
I mean, that's cool that you can even like, I can't even like finish it because like I'll like get like 3/4 through a song or halfway through a song and be like, this isn't good, this isn't worth finishing.
I'm like a dog with a bone, man. It's almost a problem of a different extreme. That like if I sense that there's a good idea in there, I get this tunnel vision and I'll shut down for like weeks, not doing anything else but
Until
just trying
done.
to like perfect this one song.
Okay.
And I mean, sometimes it works and it ends up being a good song, but half the time it doesn't work, and then it's just kind of wasted time, before I can finally accept that like, this is just not going to happen for this idea.
Yeah.
Are you a fast producer? Or like, can you make like a song in a day?
Well, it's funny because like recently someone hit me up to make like a video game song. They were like, cool, this company wants us to make this song and they want it to sound like this song. And normally I'm so attached to music that it takes me so long to make shit. But for this, I was like, I'm just going to not care about like any action or choice that I do. I'm going to work as fast as I could. And I finished, like all in all, the song is relatively done and it probably took like 6 hours. And like I've showed other people and like, dude, this is a fucking banger. Like, why don't you put this out for yourself?
Damn.
And I'm like, I don't like it like on that level.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see what happens with it. I don't know. It's either going to be in a video game or like I have no fucking clue. But like with my own stuff, no. My own stuff when I really like want to do something, it takes me a long time. It could take me a month to finish a song. It could take me 4 months.
And it's funny, right, about if you have like a constraint, like it has to be a video game song, or if you have sort of a last minute deadline, like we need something within a week or whatever. At least for me, that can sometimes unlock this creativity that like you didn't really know you had, when all of a sudden there's a framework, either it has to sound like this other song, or it's halfway done and we just need you to do this one thing.
Right.
And sometimes the results out of those little experiments, just like you said, can be, just as rewarding, or people can perceive it to be just as good as all your other stuff that you spent a month on.
Yeah,
and it's bizarre to me. I'm always trying to figure out how creativity works.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a lot of stuff I've heard from other people and shit I've read. People always say like the best stuff is always, it's like people's favorite songs are always the ones that took the shortest amount of time to make. Like the artist, and I think that's with art in general, the artist who spends like 50 hours on something, usually that doesn't translate. No one cares. They just want, they don't care. They want the simple like shit that probably was effortless.
Yep.
That effortlessness comes across in a way that's like attractive to people.
And that's one of those funny things because, as we sit here over intellectualizing like creativity, EDM and all of that, it's like this is the exact trap I fall into, because you're absolutely right that like the simplest, purest of like most thrown off ideas are the best. But if you start thinking about how to have those ideas, you've kind of already lost the game,
Yeah, it's true.
It's a weird thing to wrap your head around.
It's like a mind fuck.
But yeah, you're right, man. When it's something external, I think that's what it is something external comes to you and makes a demand of you that kind of allows you to get out of your own head, and all of a sudden you're just working towards like some idea or some kernel that somebody else gave you.
Yeah.
Something about doing that for me just makes the whole project, it just unlocks some part of my mind.
I think for me, it's just I don't care. And
right.
That's the biggest thing. It's like I don't care. I'm like doing this purely for money.
Yeah.
And
you can get back to having fun a little bit, right?
And it is fun. It's way more fun because it's just like, because I'm
you
not
remember
stressing.
When making music was fun?
Yeah, I'm like not stressing about anything. I'm like, cool, I'm going to put this here and I'll put this here, something I would have never done. But like, let's see how it sounds. Cool, it sounds good. Keep moving. Like I don't sit there and listen to it 50 times and like I just keep moving.
What's the deal or the status with this record for OWSLA that you're doing right now? Is it finished?
It's seen probably like 50 versions over the course of 2 years.
Oh, 2 years song.
Yeah.
I have a couple of those.
Yeah. It was originally something I made with Nightmare, and it was like a banger ass fucking whatever. And then we got that girl Kaisa. That woman, Kaisa, to write on it, and she wrote this dope thing, but I don't think she wanted to like be part of like that EDM sound as much anymore. I think she's trying to do her own thing. I don't really know, but it was very around the time that like the Jack U shit was popping. So like that's what it sounded like.
Right.
It was like a really cool melody, really cool hook, and then a banger drop that had nothing to do with anything.
Right.
But the Jack U one, like the Take You There one, makes way more sense than ours.
Yeah.
So
that's probably my favorite song they ever made.
Oh yeah, dude. That fucking... I'll listen to that. I don't like listen to it for fun, but I'll like listen to it as a producer and be like, dude, that song like blows me away.
It's
like
still,
the production.
I'll even listen
crazy.
for fun, man. It just gives me that vibe. Like I don't know, something about it.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But basically trying to perfect that version of it for like a year and a half, and then finally the record label was like, listen, this is such a good top line, and that sound is kind of out now, which is true.
Yeah.
And like, and not that the sound was out, but they were like, it doesn't make sense as a song. Like, let's make a song. We have such a good top line. We have such a good melody, such good vocals, lyrics, whatever. Let's make a fucking song.
That's a good piece of advice I try to give to anyone who asks for advice. Like, make songs, don't make tracks.
Yeah, it's true.
Like if you're just starting out, don't make a track. Like, set out to make a song. See if you can do it.
Because I mean, that stuff always has more staying power too. Yeah. So I redid everything. And like sped it up and like changed the key and blah, 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 or like all this stuff. And now it's a totally new song. And that whole process took probably like 3 or 4 months. Whereas the banger version was like a year plus.
Right.
So the last 4 months, and then I finally like, I got stuck on the drop, which I always do. Like I want to make it like the best thing possible. And then I sat down with like all the OWSLA dudes at the studio, and they were all just like, it was too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was really good. It was like, they were like, do this and do that and do this and do that. And I've never like really produced under that kind of like circumstance, but I liked it. It was like pressure, but it was like good pressure.
Yeah. I like it when people tell me what's wrong with my music.
Yeah.
I actually, in like a perverse way, I kind of get off on that. Like,
There's like, you just have like okay. But yeah, I was gonna say you probably just like have a fucking boner in the studio. But, yeah.
yeah, sometimes, sure. But no, I love it. Like, it's how we get better, you know?
Yeah, true. The thing is, the problem is when you don't agree, and a lot of the times I don't agree, but in this situation, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna listen to what they say. And then I did, and then it was done. Like the song, what I couldn't do in a month, we finished in like a night, and I was like, holy shit, it's finally done. So now it's just getting, and to get it, I mixed it with my buddy, the guy who mixed the record that the spec people.
Oh, right.
So I think it's great. Sounds great.
Yeah, you will see what they say.
Yeah, and OWSLA said the mix sounds good, and now we're just getting it mastered, and then I don't know what they want to do with it.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, I feel like everything with OWSLA takes forever anyway.
Yeah,
so
true.
You know, it's probably all
but
right.
I take forever with everything. Like this is my one every 6 month song, so
Right.
I hope it's good,
dude. I'm sure it is. Is it the last one you did with them was the Never Gonna Leave?
Yeah, so that was also like a 2-year song.
Hey, really?
That was like when I made it, I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be really big for me, because at the time, future bass wasn't like a thing.
Right.
It was like whatever, there was Flume and like whatever, but I was like, this is like totally in that lane and new enough. But then it took me 2 years to finish it, and then it wasn't cool
By
anymore.
that time.
It was still cool, but it didn't have the same impact that it could have had.
Well, yeah, man. Last night, when I knew I was going to come talk to you, I went back and I watched that music video again, and like I hadn't listened to that song in a while, man. It's such a fucking good tune,
Thanks, man.
and it is in that future bass, world.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
But it's like different enough.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like it's still got the like a lot of the trap influence, like stop start rhythms.
Yeah, true. It's very choppy.
I don't know. Yeah, I was nerding out on it, but to me, man, that tune is sick, and I love the Chicago bass video
man.
too. Was that all you're doing?
It was like, yeah, the video is like all about Chicago violence and whatever, because obviously that's an issue. It's not something that I'm super, like, I don't know much about it. I don't live in the South Side. I'm not going to claim just because I live in Chicago doesn't mean I know much about it. But I do know that it's a problem. And one of my best friends teaches like primarily in the South Side and tells me these stories about these kids that like, they'll just be outside at recess and they'll hear gunshots and they all have to go inside. And it's like, they're so desensitized to it. If I heard gunshots in the north side of Chicago at recess, like when I was a kid, I would have been crying.
100%.
Like, these kids are so tough. They're like, and it sucks that it has to be that way or that it is that way. So yeah, so the video, they were telling us a few ideas for the video, and because I was like, cool, like, what do you think about this one, this one, and this one? And there was like the typical like girl dances in New York studio apartment. And I was like, we can't, like, there's enough of those.
Please, never again.
Yeah, and like some dude was like, I want to make a video about like Chicago and violence, and like, he's a white dude, so the whole thing was tough for him because like he got a lot of shit everywhere he went, and like I forgot what's it called, DP, like the director
of photography.
Yeah, it was like one of their dudes was black.
Okay,
so everywhere they went, a lot of people would approach them and be like, "Oh, is he the rapper? Are you trying to claim like this set?" And people would like flash like a gun and be like, "You better like fucking leave."
Wow.
So like you have to like get the hood pass, like you have to get like the okay from the surrounding, because a lot of people will go to Chicago and try to like claim, even though they've never been there. And people will like pull up and be like, "You're not from here. You have to leave."
You get a lot of suburban people claiming Chicago too.
1,000%.
Yeah. That's like, especially as I'm sure you run into this too, traveling around. It's always, you're like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago." And they're like, dude. "Me too." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what part?" And they're like, "Oh,
like Mundelein
Aurora.
Or some shit. Yeah, just like some, but in the same vein, like, I think there's a huge misconception, and you tell people you're from Chicago and they're like, "Oh man," it's like, especially in Australia, you tell people, they're like, "Whoa, dude, like you're tough." I'm like, "No, dude."
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm
a teddy bear. Like, nah, I grew up in like this rich Jewish area. Like, nah.
Were you born in Chicago?
Yeah, Evanston.
Evanston, yeah, okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, no, that's close enough. That's still on the train line.
Yeah, there's a purple line.
Yeah. I think too, people don't understand that Chicago is so segregated still to this day.
Yeah.
And so, you can live your whole life ostensibly on the north side of Chicago.
And not even know.
Yeah. Like you don't even know, you don't know what's happening. You barely see any black people in certain areas.
Yeah, if you're like in like Wilmette or like super north side. Like,
right.
It's true. It's wild, man. It's wild. But yeah, I don't know. The video came out great. I think they raised a little bit of money for like the charity that was associated with it. It was cool. It was a really cool concept, but I know like them doing it was like definitely super tough in terms of like people questioning. It's like funny because they like all I would want to say if I were there, because I wasn't there for the filming, I would just be like, dude, this is like an EDM song. Like this is not like no one's trying to be hard here. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And no one's trying to glorify like violence or like that was another thing. Like you had to be really touchy about like, certain things. Like you don't want to make it like, oh, we're showing these kids have a bad life or like, because like my buddy who works in these schools, like the principal, he showed the video to the principal, and the principal's biggest concern was that we're going to only show the bad part. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people do. They only show like the gun violence. And like but the principal's like, he's like, this black principal with like an all black school. And he's like, I think you guys should focus on like the good shit that these kids get to do or see or,
Yeah, of course. And I think it's tough with us as like nerdy white guys who are making, electronic music, but still have all these roots in Chicago or in these like quote unquote more urban communities or ties to these communities. Like I'm always very paranoid of like not claiming that, that's a separate thing that I have some connection to. But then when people want to associate you, like what you said, going to Australia, people are like, oh, Chicago, you must be like this tough dude, you're from the hood. And it's like, no, man, it's a totally separate thing. But at the same time, you want to stand up for it.
Yeah.
So, if somebody's talking shit, I mean, you look at like Donald Trump watches Fox News one night and sees a story about Chicago, and all of a sudden he's talking about sending the military to Chicago. That kind of shit makes me want to like scream at somebody and like really rep Chicago, but then, maybe it's not my place in a way.
That, that's the tricky part. It's like, as much as I want to defend or like whatever, I don't know these daily struggles of these people who have dealt with this shit. So I don't want to like, it's like the white guilt thing. It's like, you really got to tiptoe around that shit.
Yeah.
But someone who's doing amazing stuff for Chicago is fucking Chance. Like he's like the fucking legend.
Yeah, he's the mayor right now.
For real though. Like,
and actually, maybe he will be the mayor later on.
I wouldn't be surprised if he like became a politician. Like
not at all.
Like he's just he's so dope.
Yeah,
everything he does, the open mic stuff he does, and like I know he's meeting with a bunch of politicians and like. I don't know, man. He's just a fucking G.
Yeah, he's doing it, man. It's incredible. And you can see, at least thus far, I mean, the fame, I'm sure it has taken a toll on him or changed him in some way that probably you can't see from the public face.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, he's living in the same place. He's like hanging out with the same people. Like he's basically using all of his success and just bringing it all back home. And I love it when people do that, man.
Yeah, man. He just seems like a genuine ass dude.
I love it when people just put on for their local scene, even if they're not at like a Chance level.
Yeah.
Even if it's just some local dude who's, kind of like the local bar DJ in Nashville or, whatever he's doing. Like, I love getting to travel around and kind of see the people who are actually holding those communities together.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because those dudes are like the fucking lifeblood of this shit.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't doing it, like no one would.
Like there would be no opportunity for us to travel to see it if they weren't holding it together. And I feel like on a larger level, that's kind of what Chance is doing. Is like he's holding Chicago together a little bit right now. I don't know. If he wasn't there, there's so much bad shit happening there. Like he's kind of just this like beacon right now.
And it's also just like his message is like nothing but good.
Yeah. All
like,
positive
all, like,
vibes.
Fucking, I mean, a lot of it's like whatever, God-based, but
Well, I was just going to say, he's one of the only musicians who talks about God a lot that I don't get annoyed by.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah. It's like, it's not in this like, because it's like gospel-y, but the chords are so good. That, like,
I mean, the music is just undeniable, but even the message, like the way he's talking about God, because I'm I'm a Jew too, but I'm a very bad Jew. Like I'm not religious almost at all.
Yeah.
And, I'm probably almost certainly an atheist at this
Yeah.
point. And so for me, I have problems when people like rely a lot on the God explanation for solutions to problems.
Yeah, because, you have to take it for what it is.
Right.
It's not like physical, like you're like, oh, cool, like that's doing something for me.
Yeah, I'm just too much of a skeptic, man. I think this is what it is. But then when someone like Chance comes along, like if you can make me smile while you're telling me about God, like that's a rare thing. And he hit it.
It bums
man.
me out when people like don't fuck with him.
Yeah. Who are those people?
Well, like whatever. I'm not gonna say names, but like someone who I like fuck with musically was like, I just like don't like his voice, And like I'm like, or like the God stuff, I'm like, damn, that sucks. Cause like I wish whatever, not everyone.
My old manager, Conrad, Conrad.
Yeah.
He does an incredible Chance imitation.
Oh, he can
like his impression is just spot on. And I think it started because he didn't like Chance like back in the day, but now even he is like, okay, this is really good. Yeah.
So you guys aren't working together?
Conrad actually kind of left the business. It was a lot of things at once, which is how this, especially in LA,
man.
is how this works.
That's why I don't go out, man. That's like, I don't leave this apartment for the most part.
That was my worry if I moved to LA, that like people would want me to go out too much.
No, man, once you establish yourself as that person who like doesn't go out, then like no one hits you up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
enough.
And it's like kind of sad, but it's also like, listen, like, you have your core group of friends.
Yeah,
and like,
well, you got friends visiting from Chicago.
Yeah, like,
I feel like you've still got like a strong, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like you still have like a strong core of like support and friendship in Chicago.
I was actually talking about this today with my friend who's in town. Like there's like 7 of us and we all grew up. We pretty much have all known each other since a little before high school, and some of us since we were like 5. And there's like 7 of us. And we have a group text that we all text in every day. And like it's like one of those. And it's just like, I feel like if you don't have that, then yeah, maybe you're more inclined to go out and socialize and be in this industry and whatever. But like every industry fucking party I go to or whatever, or show, it's just like, I'm not having a lot of fun unless I'm drunk.
Right.
And then I'm having a great time. But like, and I don't want it to be that way.
Yeah.
And like, and it's not like that the people or the whatever. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's a little too much for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Was there a point where you felt like you were partying too much or going out too much?
That was never even like a thing. It was just like, I remember I moved to LA and I was like stoked on all. And, well, when I moved to LA, I wasn't even close to like being in the industry. I was like sneaking into A-Track shows and shit. And like, I literally jumped a fence into an A-Track show and got the shit kicked out of me. It was crazy.
Wow.
You know that spot, the overpass or underpass
or
whatever it's called? Like A-Track was doing this house party tour, and me and my buddy went to one of the house parties because I think I had A-Track's email, and he's like, yeah, I'll put you on the list. I was like, whoa.
You're right.
And we went, and it got shut down immediately by the cops, and they were like, okay, we're moving it to this spot, the underpass or whatever. And I was wasted at that point. And I remember I saw like Carnage walking. I saw like RL Grime just like walk in front of the line.
Yeah,
and I was like,
just
whoa, like,
in the secret door.
Yeah, and I was like, that shit's crazy. And I was like, I don't want to wait in this line, even though I was on the list and I was just being an idiot. And I jumped the fence, and it was like a fucking 10-foot fence. It was like a big old fence. And like when I hit the ground, it was like like a big impact. And I just remember like these dudes far off were like, hey, don't move. And like it was a big old parking lot. And these dudes just like ran at me, and I was like, I had my arms up. I was like, all right, you caught me.
Wow.
Like, I get it. I'll leave. And they like grabbed my neck and like threw me to the ground, picked me up. I remember dude was like slamming my head against the fence, and like no one was like, they were all laughing because they were big security dudes. And obviously it's funny for them to beat the shit out of a drunk idiot.
Hey man, just good times.
Yeah. So in my defense, when they finally kicked me out, I saw some drunk kid walking around. He's like, did they pepper spray you too? I was like, no.
Wow.
So he got it worse. I called an Uber. I remember I was like, they pulled up and I was like, hey man, you got to do me a favor. You got to wait right here no matter what happens. And he's like,
the last thing an Uber driver wants to hear.
It was like, probably like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. He's like, come on, man. Like, I was like, just trust me. I have to do something. And there were like all these, it was like a big pile, like almost like it was like New York, just like trash, garbage bags, like all on the side of the street. and I just ripped them all open and threw it over the fence, and
Oh,
I jumped
my
in his
God.
car, and I was like, let's go, dude. Like, and I was like, whatever. It was a rough night.
That's straight out of a movie, man. Could you hear them like angrily yelling as you drove away?
I was so drunk. I didn't like all my worst decisions, and I think most people's worst decisions happen when they're that drunk.
Yeah.
Like I could have easily gotten into the thing and had fun.
Right.
But I was like impatient and jumped a fucking fence for no reason.
Yeah, I've been with you in a group scenario more than once where I would say you have been the most drunk person
Yes. But there were probably like good times, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
every time,
even
a
at
really
Lola.
good time. Yeah, Lala
that was a
awesome.
great night.
Oh,
that was a great
so
night.
Fun.
I was really drunk that night.
Oh yeah,
I slapped Chance's ass that night.
Did you really?
He came on the stage and they were trying to kick everyone off the stage because they were like, it's Chance. Like, we don't want to take any chances, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So, like, he's walking up on stage and I, like...
Only one chance.
I snuck off to the side so they wouldn't kick me off. And as he was walking by, I was like, go get him. It was like a sports...
yeah. Good hustle.
Yeah. I was like, you got this.
Did he do anything?
I think he was confused, but also stoked to go in front of that many people and probably didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, probably not.
But, that was classic drunk Mickey move.
I love it, man. I always have a great time with you. And yeah, man, thanks for doing this with me, man.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really, I'm glad we got to have this talk.
Hell yeah. I think it went well.
All right. Thank you, Mickey.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right, that's the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank Aryay for being the first person I ever talked to for this show. I literally could not have done it without him. He was the first person who sat down, believed in me, had the conversation, talked the talk, kept it 100, whatever you want to call it. But I have a lot of love for that guy. And if I had to make a list of my favorite producers, he'd be on it every time. So thank you, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show, rate and review the show on iTunes. That helps us so much. And I'll see you guys next week. We've got a crazy lineup for June. So many crazy guests. Can't wait to show you. My name is Willy Joy. This has been Back to Back. Have a good week, guys. Peace.